the fast and easy way to use intermittent fasting to lose weight and get lean now. Hey everybody, this is Mike Erlob with another episode of Power Your Life. So last week I had the opportunity to help out with my church youth group. And I've got to tell you, it was such an amazing and awesome experience. We had a great time. And the topic for discussion that night was true strength comes from the inside out. And the question that we discussed was, how do you strengthen your spirit? Now, this was very thought-provoking for me because, being a physical therapist, we all know how to strengthen our bodies. And most of us know how to strengthen our minds. But how do we strengthen our spirit? And why is that important anyway? So as we talked about this topic, I thought about all of the times that I had to draw upon my strength from inside myself to overcome a difficult time or a difficult experience. And when I was 18, I had joined the U.S. Army. And in December of 1989, I was sent to the Army Airborne School in Fort Benning, Georgia. Now, I really wanted to be a paratrooper. And when I arrived, when I got on base, and I remember when we pulled in on the bus and we pulled into the airborne school, when I arrived, just the sheer size of the training towers, the intimidating jump masters that we called the Black Hats, and just the legacy of the U.S. Army Airborne, it had me wondering if I would be able to make it through. And let's face it, jumping out of a perfectly good airplane really doesn't make much sense. And I probably should have had my head examined for even taking this on. But the fact was, I was there, and there was no way that I wanted to fail. So I quickly found out that the issue wasn't really so much the physical challenge of the school, but it was the mental challenge. And fear, I'm going to tell you guys, fear can do strange things to you. Many of my fellow soldiers that were in the class with me in the school, many of them quit. Many of them quit because of that fear. And the Black Hats, they used that fear to separate those who had the inner strength to make the jumps from those who didn't. And every single day, I still remember this, I would wake up and I would wonder, am I going to make it? Is this the day that I'm going to quit? Is this the day that I'm going to be successful? What's going to happen? And those questions would go over and over and over in my head because you would see folks, guys that were going on the runs with you, that were dropping out, and guys that you didn't think should be doing that, and they weren't making it. And here I was, you start to question yourself. You start to see, what am I really made of? And, I found out that what I had to do was I just had to focus on taking it one day at a time. I had to look deep within myself, and I had to draw upon that inner strength of my spirit, that we all have. And I had to draw upon that just every single day, day after day. But I couldn't look ahead, I couldn't think about, when I'm in ground week, what's going to happen in tower week? What's going to happen in jump week? I couldn't think about that. All I could think about was, what am I doing right here and right now? And what do I have to do in order to make it through? You see, the inner part of us that leads us to do what is right, that which leads us to do what I like to call the next right thing, right? That's the part that I had to tap into and I had to listen to. And so as we progressed through ground week, and then on to tower week, and then on to jump week, I got to tell you, the anticipation and the fear that I felt, it increased. But, we were getting top-notch training. And the faith in the training that I was given by the elite Black Hats as I successfully passed each week helped tremendously. So then the day it arrived, when that day arrived, and I was in the harness shed, and they put our chutes on, and they walked us out on the tarmac, and we went up the rear, the back of that C-130, and I just get goosebumps even thinking about it to this day. When I walked up the back of that plane and we sat down, and you're looking all around you and you see, all these guys you've been training with, and you all have your chutes on there, and all of a sudden the back of that plane closes and you feel that C-130 rolling down the airstrip, and you can hear the rumbling of the engines, and you can feel that plane lift off. I knew right then that I was at the point of no return. And then I wondered, again, can I really do this? Am I really going to be able to answer that call when that green light goes? Am I going to be able to go out that door? And then, something funny happened as we were taking off. Our jump master, the black hat, he was walking down the line. We call them sticks. So he's walking down our stick, and he starts counting us off, and he's counting up by ones, 1 to 10, 1, 2, and he gets to 10. He comes to me, and he said 1. And I'm like, well, nobody told me about this. And I just asked him, I said, what do you mean 1? And he said, you're the first out on the next pass, he told me. And I immediately, I felt my hands sweat. I could feel my stomach right up into my throat. I could feel every fiber of my being telling me, Mike, don't hook up. Don't hook up on that static line. But I'm telling you, my spirit took over and it pushed that fear aside. This is what I had been trained for. Have faith is what I told myself. So as the plane turned, and started around the bend, started going towards the landing zone, we got the command from the black hat. He said, stand up. So I stood up. He said, hook up. So I took I hooked my chute and I hooked it to that static line of the plane. And as we connected our chutes to that static line, that's when the door opened. And, we shuffled down to the door, and there I was. I'm standing in the door of that C-130, looking out at about 1,250 feet. And I could still feel it today. I can feel the rush of the wind. I could smell the engine's exhaust. I could see for miles. I did look down, and that was kind of scary. But, so I looked out at the horizon. And suddenly, that light turned green, and boom, out I went. And I'm going to tell you, that fear that I had, it gave way to the most exhilarating feeling that I have ever had. I did it. I answered the call. And I made 5 successful jumps that week. And it all came from my inner strength, and it came from the Spirit of leading me to do the next right thing. You see, life is just like that. You see, we're all faced with decisions and situations that we fear. It's when you learn how to strengthen your inner spirit and to do what is right that it all works out. And then you wonder why you were even afraid in the first place. I remember landing. And I remember, opening up, the chute opened up, and I was so thankful that chute opened up. And as you come down and you land, and it didn't land very easy, landed pretty hard, but, I'm laying there, and I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't break anything. I'm in one piece. And then you look up and you see all of these other paratroopers coming out of the sky, and you jump up and you realize, I did it. I successfully jumped, I landed, it was okay. And guess what? Jump number 2 was even easier. In fact, it was fun. Jump number 3 was even easier. The more I did it, the more fun it became, the easier it became. Don't let fear rob you of your life. Focus on strengthening your spirit. You see, many of us, we just don't take action on what we know we should be doing because we have that fear of failure or the fact that we've tried so many other things that just didn't work out, that we're just afraid that nothing's going to work. And you know what? Losing weight is just one of those things. See, so many of us have tried and failed that we don't even think anything will work. So, as we talk today about the power of intermittent fasting, there's something I'm going to say. Most of you, there's a lot of people out there that they know about intermittent fasting and they just flat out don't do it, right? Even though intermittent fasting has been proven to be extremely effective for weight loss, and it carries with it some awesome health benefits, there are just many of those who just simply won't try it. You see, that fear of failure that keeps many of us from realizing our true potential. I get it. After several failures, many of us, we just learn to deal with the fact that we just haven't been able to lose weight effectively. We just get stuck in that rut. But you see, when you learn to deal with it, you are, in not so many words, just accepting it, right? You're accepting that you are heavier than you want to be, that you are unhealthy, and that you can't find the energy to live life like you want to. You see, then you become complacent, and you just don't try anymore. But the problem just gets progressively worse. You get even heavier. Your joints start to hurt even more. Your blood pressure begins to rise. Your blood sugar goes up. You start to lose energy. You start losing your self-confidence. And you know what? Later, you're going to regret accepting that and allowing it to get worse. Another reason that so many people won't try intermittent fasting is that they don't know where to start, right? The idea of not eating for a length of time seems so confusing and alien to people that they just start to create this extreme overwhelm and anxiety. And when you get into that, you get into this analysis paralysis mode, you just don't take action. But something that I want you guys to remember, all right? Do you remember the old Nike ad campaign that says, just do it? I mean, most of us remember. That's what you have to do. You just do it. And today I'm going to show you how, okay? Now, a third reason that so many people won't do intermittent fasting is that deep down, you know what? They don't think as a person they are worth success. I'm going to dive here deep with you guys. I'm going to go out on a little bit of a limb, okay? Because I believe in speaking the truth. And I know it can seem hard to believe, but when you're given all of this information, you're given all of this guidance on how you can achieve something that you really want, but you don't act on it. You, in fact, are performing an act of what we call subconscious self-sabotage. You see, when you are self-sabotaging yourself, what you're doing is you're doing that out of lack of belief in your own self-worth. And when that happens, usually what that means is that you are needing to forgive yourself or someone else for the wrongs that that you have either done or that you had done to you. And forgiveness, that is the way out of subconscious self-sabotage. And the fastest way to take action, and it's the fastest way to take actions on these steps that you know will help you. So, the last time we talked about what intermittent fasting is, okay? So we all know what it is. Now, let's dive into how we can use it to force our bodies to use and burn that excess body fat. So, let's talk about what's happening in your body when you start to fast for a few hours. You see, there's a hormone at play that I'm sure all of you have heard about, and it is called insulin. And, it's so much more than just diabetes. You see, one of the main jobs that insulin has is it is a gatekeeper to body fat. So basically, when we have insulin in our system, any energy, which is usually broken down into sugars, that we don't need right away, it is stored as body fat. And sadly, while our insulin levels are up, we also can't burn any body fat for energy. So if, on the other hand, there isn't any insulin in our system, our body switches over to burning its body fat for energy, and we lose weight. So let's talk about, let's look at how intermittent fasting can help us manipulate this hormonal system into losing weight. When you eat, insulin levels go up, and that will help your body process the energy for food. Then, over the coming hours, those insulin levels start to drop down. Now, once you get to a certain level, the body starts to switch to the burning body fat for energy. It's just the flip of a switch. It switches over. And that's what we call ketosis, okay? So, you start getting into burning the body fat for energy, and then until your next meal, which, when you eat again, that insulin spikes and that cycle starts all over again. So the reason intermittent fasting works so well for losing weight and for burning body fat in particular is because we're extending that window of fat burning during the fasting hours. So if you only eat during an 8-hour window on any given day, which really quite honestly isn't really hard to do, as you'll see in a minute, that you're burning fat for that remaining 16 hours. And something else amazing happens. This is really cool. When the insulin levels drop, okay, your adrenaline and your human growth hormones start to go up. Now that adrenaline, that will help keep your energy up. That helps your metabolism burning high. And the human growth hormone helps you maintain your muscle mass and keeps you in shape, okay? And if you keep your muscle mass, you get lean, right? So as your insulin levels drop and stay low, you're going to notice that you crave less foods and sugars, especially carbs, and that's a good thing. While traditional fasting, it can take quite a bit of willpower, particularly during the first few days, intermittent fasting is actually fairly easy. You just have to postpone indulging in food for a few hours. That's it. It's much easier to tell yourself that you can have something to eat in 2 hours than it is to not eat or not eat certain foods for days or weeks to come. So here you go. Just eat your dinner at the regular time, okay? Let's say 6 p.m., all right? Eat your fill and just don't do any snacking after dinner. Now, if you ate a decent dinner, hunger's really not going to be an issue. But it may take you a little while to establish a new habit if you're a late night snacker, all right? You got to let that go. If you are a late night snacker, one of the things you can get around is just get yourself a glass of water or fix yourself, a cup of herbal tea. Just don't put any honey in it, all right? If you really feel like you need something, that'll help you out. Then go to bed. Get 8 hours of sleep. So let's say you go to bed around 10 p.m. and you wake up at 6 a.m. Well, the good news is that you've already made it through 12 hours of fasting. Now, all you have to do is see if you can make it 14 hours by postponing breakfast until maybe 8 a.m. Grab a cup of coffee if you have to. Don't eat breakfast until maybe now 10 o'clock on another day. See how that goes. Just keep pushing that out. Work yourself up to a point where you can easily fast for 16 hours at a time. You see, that's 16 hours now you're burning fat. That's easy enough, isn't it? Now, the key thing to remember here is when you're getting started is that you're really not dieting, all right? Don't think of it like a diet because you see, a diet has a beginning and an end. This is a new lifestyle. This is a new way of living. So unless you choose otherwise, there are no forbidden foods, okay? And you don't have to, make do with certain foods for days on end. All it takes is postponing food for a few hours. And since you sleep through the majority of your fasting time, I'm telling you, it's pretty surprisingly easy to do. While you burn excess body fat simply by fasting 16 hours a day, it may take you a while, okay, if you pig out during your eating window. So you got to be careful with that, because if you eat more than you really should, you can stall any weight loss that you might see initially. However, there are a few things that you can do to supercharge your fat burning and weight loss with intermittent fasting. And the good news is you don't have to do all of these things, all of the time. Do them the best you can, and the results you will see will motivate you to keep going. So now, these few things that you can do to supercharge your fat burning and weight loss, they are, well, guess what? That's all I got for today. We are going to cover that next time. I got to leave a little something for you for next time, right? Now, I'm just giving you the fast and easy way to implement intermittent fasting. But I know there are some of those of you out there who just may want a little bit of that extra help. That is why I have created a weight loss system that follows intermittent fasting. And it guides you through that process. And it's available online, so you can start this right away. And it's called the 4-Week Weight Loss System for Busy Moms and Dads. Now, you don't have to be a mom or dad for this system. It'll work for anybody, but I created that to fit into anyone's schedule, okay? So you can learn more by clicking the link below. As always, I'm going to leave you with a very thought-provoking quote. This time it's from Rick Warren. And what he said is, fear is a self-imposed prison that will keep you from becoming what God intends for you to be. You must move against it with the weapons of faith and love. So I want you to think about that for a while, but until next time, power your life and keep moving forward.